let's go,
Hello everyone, welcome to Fundi Talks Student, your podcast for student education. I'm Spiwe Masuku, and today we are bringing you yet another interesting topic about how to structure your online profile. Some of you will relate. When you have to apply for a job, you're required to submit your CV with experience. Now we're going to talk to Michelle, who's going to take us through the process that you need to do, what you need to put into your CV document or your online profile, because recently we have moved to online applications. Hello, Michelle.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please, can you introduce yourself, where you're coming from, and what do you do?
Sure. My name is Michelle Dobson. I'm a brand marketer. So I've been a brand marketer, building, developing, and managing brands for a very long time, 25 plus years.
Oh.
I have had the good fortune of working for some really awesome local and global brands, Adidas, Red Bull Mobile, Cell C, and British Airways. I ran a digital marketing agency for a couple of years, ran my own business for a couple of years after that. And then I was found on the Pnet platform by Pnet, ironically. and I joined the business in September 2021 as the head of brands.
Yes. So what I'm hearing is currently you are with Pnet.
That's correct.
The most popular one.
Yes.
Okay.
South Africa's leading recruitment platform.
Awesome. Please take us through, what you do in terms of, guiding your candidates when they apply the CVs. We just want to get a glimpse of what you do so that we can get into the details of what is required when you are drafting, what you need to consider, the errors that we make, and all of those things.
Sure. I mean, the most important thing to consider, I think, as job seekers in today's world is that, as you mentioned, recruitment is online.
Yes.
Gone are the days of word of mouth, gone are the days of newspapers,
Yes.
Gone are the days, in my day, it was literally a job board out in a recruitment agency, a physical building. So recruitment's happening online,
Yes.
and it's very important for job seekers to be able to put their best foot forward through their online profile. And obviously most people refer to that as a CV, but a CV in the online recruitment space is actually just a small part of how online recruitment works.
So tell us, what is the difference between your online profile on the platform and your physical CV? Because most of us are used to printing an A4 paper with a couple of pages that tells a story about who you are and your experience. What's the difference between the two?
So a CV, we still want those couple of pages.
Yes.
I think anybody watching this will know that will relate to the hack of creating an online profile.
Yes.
It's not a quick process, especially if you want to do it right.
Yes.
And then you go through all of these fields, and at the end, we ask you to upload your CV, and you're going, why? I've just given you all that information in all these fields. But there is a method to that madness.
Yes.
Online recruitment platforms, not only Pnet, it's just the way they work, have a number of fields.
Yes.
And all of those fields can be used by recruiters to either shortlist suitable candidates from applications that they get, or they can proactively go into the database and headhunt candidates that have made their profile visible. So the more information you have in all of those fields, the more the more chances you have of making a shortlist that meets a recruiter's vacancy.
Okay, you are an expert in this field. You mentioned something very interesting. You still have to complete your online profile, which also has basically more or less the same information as your CV document. Why is that process necessary?
So when a recruiter is recruiting, and it's important to understand from a recruiter's perspective how they're looking for talent.
Yes.
They will go into the system. So there's two ways that they recruit. They either put their job ad, post their ad live, which I think is the most common way and the one we're used to the most.
Definitely.
Then job seekers will go and apply for that ad, and once they've closed that advert and they're looking at all the applications, they'll go into the platform and shortlist based on certain criteria that appears in those fields that we've asked the job seeker to complete. So if they're looking for a job seeker in a particular industry, a particular location, with certain experience, with certain keywords that are listed in their skills, and we'll talk about that quite a bit because
Yes.
that's also very important.
Yeah.
So by unpacking what's in your physical CV
Yes.
into each of those individual fields, it gives you a much better opportunity of being shortlisted when recruiters are filtering through those applications. They get about 120 applications on
Yes.
average.
Yeah.
It's obviously different for certain sectors,
Yes,
but
yes.
in summary, it's a lot of
a lot,
applications for
yeah.
one job ad. So they often can't go through that information physically or manually, and they use the software and all the filters and tools
Yes.
to then shortlist job seekers based on the information that's in their profile.
So speaking to someone like me who's also, went through that process and always I go, I need to fill in this thing again and then I'll have to upload. What is your word of advice to someone who's looking for a job and they really need this job and they want to get it right? What is your advice to someone who's, opening and abandoning the online profile?
So don't abandon it would be my first bit of advice.
Yes.
Work through it as kind of methodically and in as much detail as you can. The work experience field is very, very important.
Yes.
And it's often a tricky one, especially for people who are entering the world of work or, graduates. So work experience is absolutely critical. Put something in there, whether it's casual work or part-time work. Even if it's not paid work, if it's something like, a community project or volunteering that you were involved in, you basically want to indicate through whatever appears under your work experience or in that field that you're employable, responsible, and also add those skills. So going on to the skills then, list as many skills as you possibly can about why you would be a good fit for a company.
So speaking about skills, I would love for us to unpack a bit of that because we, with our unemployment rate, you have a lot of matriculants, you have a lot of graduates who's never had an opportunity to work. And literally when they're looking at the job specs and all of that, they get discouraged by the fact that you must have 1 to 2 years experience, 3 to 4 years experience. I don't have experience at all, right? And I really want this job. And this is something I'm really passionate about and I want to be in this space. What do I put on my CV? Because I have no experience whatsoever.
Yeah. So, and as you say, there's a lot of people that are going to be in that position. There's a lot of people that are in that position every year as people graduate from university or matriculate. I think a common mistake that people make is they just list their computer skills. When we ask for skills, they talk about computer literacy and the level of kind of expertise for that computer skill. But there's so much more to skills, and you can really set yourself apart in this section of an online recruitment platform. The first thing to mention is that there's a difference between hard skills and soft skills. I think we probably are hearing a lot more about soft skills. So understanding that difference is really key. Your hard skills will be things that are measurable and teachable. So probably gained through formal education or some sort of formal training, things like a qualification or coding, a foreign language, something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Soft skills is really where the magic happens. And that's, as I say, where you can differentiate yourself from somebody that's also matriculated or also qualified with the same degree, is you can really use your soft skills to talk about your characteristics and almost like your personality traits. So they can be learned and they can be improved, but a lot of them are innate characteristics that you would possess. And more recruiters are looking for or recruiting based on soft skills alongside qualifications. So a really key part, and you can list, on the Pnet platform, you can list up to 50. So we ask for a minimum of 3, but go mad in this section. Things like, recruiters are looking for adaptability. In today's world of work, things change so quickly. As there are technological advancements and digital things change in the business, processes change in the business. So adaptability and flexibility are really key soft skills that employers are looking for. There's always the age-old ones, things like teamwork, collaboration, good communication. Those, they really just show that you are able to work in a work environment. Things that are related to productivity are good, like a self-starter, self-motivated, that sort of thing. But there really are as many characteristics as there could be in terms of personality types. You need to almost cherry pick which are the ones that are going to be relevant for your industry that you're looking to be recruited into.
Yes.
And also be authentic about them. So don't go and lie on that, because it'll come across very easily when you start that role. Also, you don't want to lie on your CV, or your profile, because culture fit is such a big part of recruitment as well. You want to be matched to a company that has the same values as you. You feel comfortable working with them. Otherwise it's just going to lead to unhappiness and lack of productivity, and probably hitting the job searching process all over again in a year or two's time. So be authentic and honest on your profile, but be aware of those soft skills that recruiters are looking for.
Yeah, so this is very interesting because a lot of us, just put these things because some of us would, ask somebody to help us draft our own CVs, and sometimes they'll kind of, have assumptions or things to put in our CV that they think will relate to us, whereas it's not necessarily so. The other thing is when I'm busy with my CV, because at the end of the day, I have to upload it as a soft copy whatsoever. How important and what is the structure that I need to follow? Because back in the days, you had a section that talks about your personality, your school, and then your work experience. Is that still the format that recruiters are still looking for with the evolution that has happened in the recruitment space? Or is there another way I can restructure, have a little bio of myself with an image? Do those things still apply?
So yes and no. They do, but probably in a slightly different format.
Yes.
So, for example, putting an image on your profile or on your CV, your actual CV that you upload is not relevant.
Yes.
Or not required.
Yes.
In fact, it probably doesn't work to your advantage because the system will scan that CV.
Yes.
So it's not a person kind of physically receiving it in an envelope and reading it. That's the work of your profile. Yeah. So you almost need to structure your CV to be fit for the online world. So either a Word format or a PDF format is best. There are tons of formats that are accepted, but those are the ones that are
primarily
better.
Yes.
But not a scanned, not a printed Word and then scanned to PDF, so because the system can't pick up any scanned information. So it needs to be something that's created in Word and then converted to PDF. Software.
Yes.
The structure is very, very similar to the days of yore. It's a little intro, a little summary of, or probably your elevator pitch is a good place to start. Yes. So what is the one sentence that makes you employable or that you're looking for in terms of, your career path or whatever it is? Yes. A little summary about, if you don't have any work experience, then talk a little bit about yourself, what your passions are, why you, went over after a particular sector or qualification, and then you would always start with, I would suggest always starting with skills, especially if you're fairly new into the world of work. Okay. If you've got lots of work experience, then you can start with the companies you've worked for, in reverse chronological order. Yes. But if you are new to the world of work, use that as an opportunity again to highlight those skills. Yes. Or personality traits that are going to help you stand out, because your previous work experience isn't going to really work for you. It's going to show your previous work experience, if it's casual work or something like that, is going to show skills again, as opposed to, babysitting is not going to be relevant to trying to get a job in finance or something like that. So, and make sure there's a good flow on your CV. So even though it's online and there's a system that's going to be scanning those keywords, make sure it's a good flow from one section to the next and short. 2 pages max.
There's another question. I think a couple of months ago when I was just glimpsing through LinkedIn, there was a question about, making your CV relevant to the application, the job spec. How important is that? And what does it mean? Because I'm holding a CV and this is the companies I've worked for. These are the skills that I've got. And it's structured the way I, see fit for me. How do I make sure that I adapt or I adopt my CV to suit exactly what, you as a recruiter is looking for?
Great question. So other than work experience and what to put there, as well as skills, this is a really nice way that you can kind of stand out from the crowd or stand out from the other applicants.
Yes.
Customizing your CV is pretty important because it shows that you have a genuine interest in that particular role or that particular industry.
Yes.
And it can also show that you've given some thought to what your career trajectory is going to be, what your career path is going to look like. So it's a good idea to try and different industries have different terminology, sometimes for the same thing. You know?
Definitely.
So it's a really good idea if you're going after a specific industry or after a specific type of role is to understand the words and phrases that industry uses. You'll pick them up in job specs anyway.
Yes,
so try and match your CV as well as your cover letter to the words and phrases that company or that particular industry is using.
Yes.
So in my world, for example, a bajillion years ago, we spoke about customer journeys and understanding how a customer moves from becoming aware of a product to then purchasing a product. In today's world, in a digital world, we call that UX. So in my, so I've had to transition my CV from talking about customer journeys to talking about UX. And that is a very strong keyword in the marketing world that recruiters will pick up from my CV. So if I'm saying customer journeys in my CV, the system's not going to pick that up, and I might be losing out on opportunities because that might be something that they've indicated is a deal breaker. So that's a really, it's almost like the best trick in the recruitment space, And also when somebody's reading your CV and going through your profile, you want them to be almost nodding enthusiastically that this is
the fit.
This is the one. This is the one. I found the match, So customization is really, really key. And again, you can cherry pick those skills that are most relevant to that particular industry or role and highlight those in your CV as well.
Perfect. And then we come back to your cover letter. What is the purpose of a cover letter?
So it's not a summary of your CV. That is the first thing. Often somebody will use it to condense the information that they already have in their profile. Your CV needs to, your cover letter needs to talk to, it's a motivation as to why you are the best fit for this job. So it's highlighting the skills that you have. Look through the job description and pick out the keywords and the requirements that they're looking for, and make sure your cover letter says, I've got that, I've got that, I've got that. I don't have that, but I'm working on getting it. Or, if there are gaps, figure out how to include those gaps in your cover letter to say, I don't have this experience, but I'm working on it. I've recognized that that's something I need to do. I've signed up for some online course or whatever it is. So your cover letter is a motivation, but again, that trick about matching the words in the job description to the words in your cover letter, so that somebody's going, again, those 120 applications, what is going to make you stand out? And if they're seeing the same words that they've written into their vacancy, you're almost guaranteed to make that shortlist.
So often we get discouraged by not receiving feedback, and you just mentioned something very important to say. As much as there is a recruiter in a human form like yourself at the end who's skimming through, some of the CVs that was shortlisted, there's a whole machine system that goes through these CVs. And it's very disheartening to apply for a job and not receive any feedback. But also I've realized that most of us in some cases, or your students and every applicant forgets to note is, should you not hear from us in 2 weeks' time, this means your application was unsuccessful. What do you have to say about that?
It is heartbreaking and very disheartening. As I said, because of our very high unemployment rate, there are a recruiter will get between 80 and 100 applications for every job ad. It's very difficult for them to respond to every single one. And we know that they don't. They just simply don't. In our platform, in our Pnet platform, we have a tool that allows recruiters that are using our platform to send regret letters. So everybody that's applied through the system can receive a regret. We encourage them to use it, obviously, because we know it's an important part of closing the loop for a job seeker, but we can't control, the way recruiters use that functionality. So that is important. I think, be aware of what the job spec is saying, or even if you've had the interview, ask in the interview when you can expect to hear back. If that time period has come and gone and you haven't heard back, in fact, before that time period comes and goes, keep moving on. Even if you've submitted your application, don't stop the process. And don't obsess about that particular application that you've sent through. Just keep going, keep cracking on. Make sure your online profile is visible and searchable, not only to recruitment agencies, but to companies that are hiring directly as well. And make sure, you've signed up for job alerts is probably also another good piece of advice. Recruiters, you want to be the first to hear about a vacancy, a suitable vacancy, when it becomes available. So if you sign up for job alerts, as soon as a recruiter publishes something on the platform, it'll come through to you in an email. Don't apply for everything. That's the other key. That's the other key word. Don't. And we see people applying for 500 jobs in 3 months. It's not going to put your best foot forward. It shows that you're desperate, and the reality is many people are desperate. But a recruiter will start to pick up that you're not focused on your career trajectory. You're not clear on what you want out of your career. You also I'm pretty sure you can't possess all of the skills for those 500 jobs. So, it shows that you're also not actually a match to the job description. So I would say 65%, 70% match. If you don't have 65-70% match to that particular job spec, don't apply. It's just rather focus your time and energy on the better matches. And we'll continue to encourage our recruiters that use our platform to close that loop with job seekers.
Awesome. So what would you say makes Pnet the best and the leading recruitment company or system in South Africa?
So for job seekers, it's purely, job seekers want good jobs from good businesses. And we have thousands of recruiters that use our platform. We work with recruitment agencies. We work with, as I say, companies and brands directly. And that includes big corporates as well as SMEs. So we have around 5,000 recruiters working with us, and at any given time, we have on average about 30,000 live jobs on the platform. The other trick, as I said earlier, job seekers are quite familiar with the process of job apply, but we have the majority of those recruiters, in fact, are using our search functionality on the database. So they're headhunting for talent for their roles or for their business based on the information that's in the platform. So always make sure your information is updated. If you get a new qualification or new skill, go and add it, because that might just be the keyword that they're searching on.
Interesting.
And Pnet's been around for 27 years. We had our birthday last month. So we've learned a trick or two about the recruitment industry.
Wow, that's an extensive experience. Just before we wrap up, for someone who doesn't have their profile on Pnet, what are the top 3-5 things that they need to have prepared before they go and start registering their own profile on the system?
So a good idea of what you want to do is, it might change, as has happened in my life for a couple of times, but have a good idea of what it is that you want to go after. You'll need your personal details, which you'll have on hand. You'll have a really good think around what are the skills that you possess. And you can do some research around that. Google soft skills. Call up a laundry list, cherry pick the ones that you believe you're a good fit for. We have a grad pack which we launched in May. So it's a I'd be lying if I think it's a 50-page or a 40-page guide for graduates on how to create a really good profile, and then it talks about the interview process, what happens once you got the job. So if you go to the Pnet website and look under job seeker blogs from the footer, you can find our grad pack there to download. You would have... So I would say the skills. You don't necessarily need to put testimonials in. There's no way to put testimonials in your actual profile. You could put them on your CV that you upload. But testimonials don't really mean anything until after the shortlisted process. So as long as you're working on some testimonials in the background, if you don't have work experience from, I don't know, the captain of some sports club you're involved in, or the church leader or something like that. But that's really just for later in the process. And I think that's pretty much it. You don't need to upload any bank details, so you don't need any paperwork except your CV that you've worked on and crafted.
Let's talk about references.
Let's.
There's references in the CV. Who are these people that I need to reference ideally? And what do you do with these references?
So, as I said, the Pnet platform itself doesn't allow space or doesn't have a field for putting in references. So it's not something that a recruiter would look at as the first part of that process to shortlist candidates that they want to interview. If you don't have a lot of work experience, so obviously if you've got work experience, it's a good idea to get a testimonial from a previous boss or peer or colleague. If you don't have previous work experience, character references are gold. Somebody talking about or to your employable skills, your teamwork, your communication, your soft skills, your ability to collaborate, your understanding, your ability to take instructions and execute brilliantly on those instructions. So you want your testimonials to talk to that, and just to say something about your character and why you would be a good, why you should make it to the top of that shortlist pile,
Now, this is a lot of information, Michelle, and it's very interesting. So after you've done your profile and you've gone through the shortlisting, where you're sitting is like, now I need to secure this role. So what are the things that I need to put in my head when I'm going for an interview? And the biggest question that makes all of us anxious is, tell us about yourself. What advice do you have for us in that regard?
Yeah, so the interview... securing the interview is, that's prize number one. So you want to make sure that you're really, really prepared. We actually talk about this in our grad pack. There's a section before the interview, during the interview, and after the interview. So before the interview, it's things like researching the company, making sure you understanding their values is a good one, because then you can talk to their core values in the interview and how that, aligns with your values as well. So culture, that'll tick the box of culture fit, which is great. If it's honest, if it's true, make sure that you know where the interview is taking place. If you can, test out the route there if it's going to be at a time where there's lots of traffic. So be really prepared before the interview. Get a good night's sleep. Eat well the day before, So don't forget your physical and mental health in preparing for that interview. It's not just the research and the job description. And then the interview itself is... always dress comfortably, dress professionally. So we always say dress for the job you want. It's you want to be professional, but you want to be comfortable. Don't, for the ladies, don't wear heels that are too high if you're not used to wearing heels that are too high. And listen to what the interviewer has to say. So don't focus on the points you want to get across, but rather focus on the points that they're actually asking, so that you can answer succinctly without kind of rambling on and getting lost in your thoughts. So nice complete succinct answers. When it comes to tell us about yourself, it's it can be anywhere between 2 and 5 minutes. Again, if there's lots of work experience, you would probably talk to your most recent couple of jobs that are relevant to this particular business or function. But here's really an opportunity. I think it's a way for recruiters to kind of get a sense of the person they're talking to. So you can talk a little bit about, your interests, if you like reading or mountain biking or dancing or whatever it is. A little bit of a kind of behind the scenes glimpse. But again, your skills, so you want to bring those skills into the conversation in your Tell Us About Us. So really, and this is something that you should, as your preparation, that you absolutely should practice out loud in front of a mirror, because the words come out differently when you're talking as opposed to when you're thinking them in your head. So practice your 2-3 minute intro blurb, as I call it, out loud, and so that's going to set the scene or the tone for that interview, and you're nice and comfortable by the time you get into the technical questions.
So before we just close our conversation, you mentioned something about people applying for a couple of roles. They're now starting to seem desperate. How often do you find that the people that are applying for those roles are actually a fit for the role? Personality-wise, their values fit the role that they want to be in. How often do you find that match?
So we, as Pnet, as the technology, as the actual enabler that connects the recruiter and the job seeker, we don't get to see the actual applications that go through, but from our data and from our conversations with recruiters, because obviously, our job is to keep them happy by delivering quality talent that's going to help their business grow. So we do know, kind of, as I say, through the data and anecdotally, that if they get 120 applications, chances are that those are not all really good, good matches. So people do tend to apply where they see a 20-30% match on their profile to the job description. It's the high unemployment rate. It's that desperation. Maybe I can motivate in my cover letter that I fit this role, even though I'm not a match to the qualifications.
Then is it advisable as a recruiter to advise, people that are applying for jobs to take up a career assessment tool? And what are those tools?
Yes, absolutely. We don't work with those tools. So by the time somebody comes to our platform and starts inputting their information, we hope that they've already gone through that process, that they have a really clear idea about what it is that they want to do, what's going to make them happy, and therefore what's going to make them productive and of value to a recruiter. So understanding where you have, clear abilities that stand out, or numeracy skills, or whatever it is that's going to fit a certain career path, is a really, really good exercise to do before you start putting your profile together.
Wow, Michelle, thank you so much. This has just been a very interesting topic. I wish that we can go over and over, and emphasize all these points. But, I also have hope and faith that everybody who's going to be watching, this podcast will be thinking and will be also, noting down so that they don't make the same mistakes anymore, so that they are well prepared. And also in closing, you also mentioned that it is a good idea for you sitting at home wanting to, secure your job, in your career, or start in your career, to, try and put some effort into it. Go look at some career tools that will do your personality test so that you can see where are your abilities, especially if you are starting off. You are not just moving from one job to another, because then you don't have much about your skills and what you can do as yet. And this is it from us. We are looking forward to hosting you again and bringing you yet another informative session. Please feel free to check out our platforms. And also, Michelle, if they want to get hold of you or Pnet, do they have that opportunity, and where do they go?
Absolutely, they do. Our website is pnet.co.za. So if you scroll down to the footer, you can, from the homepage, you can start creating a profile. If you want to get in touch, you can scroll down to the contact form and just indicate that you're a job seeker and send your query through. We've got tons of blogs. We've got on our website, we've got a newsletter on LinkedIn called The Job Scoop, which is, a guide to kind of help job seekers with various, similar to this, various tips and tricks about their career journey. So they can reach out on our social media channels as well. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok.
Thank you so much. It was really nice having you today with us.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much to everyone who's going to find this information available. Don't forget to follow us so that you can receive and watch more of the informative content that we bring to you. Thank you so much.